Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
By being a racing driver means you are racing with other people. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. I race designed to win.
It's time for Negative Camber.
Down the inside, Hamilton sees him coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race.
If it's motorsport you want, then this is the place to be. All of the latest results, analysis and interviews.
And a great start for car number 11. Delberto's got away beautifully at the start of the great race.
Right now on Radio Italia Uno 87.6. And now it's time to introduce your hosts, Jamie Lemure and Lee Harrison.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide, live from the studios of Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM. It's a cold, wet, nearly wintry night here in the studios of Radio Italia Uno, and alongside me is my co-host. Some say that in Miami, this man had a bigger swagger than Elvis for 2.5 months. I'm talking about no one else other than Mr. Lee Harrison.
Good evening. How are you, my man?
I'm good, my friend. How are you? You look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
That's all right. I've had a nice and relaxing day looking after the kids for a cold and wet Sunday, but had some nice lunch this afternoon at one of our favourite Unley Road establishments, Bricks and Stones. So shout out to the team there, and hopefully the kids are listening and they can let me know that they've been listening.
Cool. I was going to say relaxing day with the kids indoors. That's quite keen of you.
We had some friends over as well, so that kept them preoccupied. It was nice and easy.
Yeah, cool. Well, while you were whining and dining, I caught up with our special guest earlier today, Charlie Bullis from V8 Supercars. So that interview will be coming up shortly, probably in the next half an hour or so. But how are you finding your comeback down to earth now that you're back in Adelaide after Miami?
It's the post-event blues have definitely kicked in. It's been hard to readjust back to normal life and the pace of it all here in little old Adelaide. But finally starting to get there, sleeping through the night now, which was not happening when we spoke last a couple of weeks ago. And starting to get my groove back.
Oh, that's good. Good. You'll be grooving later with the Around the World segment as well. But I had some really positive comments from our last show. I don't know what was in the air or the water or whatever, but people could feel the love. There was a lot of good positive feedback from that, and listeners were starting to buy into dad jokes. I got tagged in quite a fair few over the course of the week.
Yeah, I know. I was guilty of that myself, waking up, I think, on Sunday morning or Monday morning, whichever it was, and tagging you in a post on one of our favourite social media platforms. It was a nice list, so I'm excited to see what you're bringing to the table tonight.
Well, Charlie and I did some dad joke. We had a dad joke off, on earlier today. So yes, it was that was cool. It was good fun actually. It was good banter. But no, I have plenty in my arsenal.
Well, that's good to hear. I said the work colleagues from your side of the fence definitely got in touch with Shay and said how funny some of the dad jokes were. So looking forward to hearing the interview with you and Charlie. I've heard nothing but good news about it since it wrapped up this afternoon. So look forward to that later in the show. Yeah,
she's a gem. Absolute lovely girl, woman. Sorry, No, we could have talked for 3 or 4 hours. So she's, to try and condense it into something a little bit shorter than that was quite difficult to do. But we'll catch up with her at Tail and Bend, and then definitely for the 500. I know she's very much looking forward to that at the end of this year. So, mate, it's been a mega motorsport weekend. In no certain order, we've got the Monaco Grand Prix, we've got the Mugello MotoGP, we've got NASCAR, we've got the Indy 500, we've got the Speed Series held at Eastern Creek. The Barossa Go-Kart Club had their round last night. Did I miss anything?
Nothing that's jumping to mind straight off the bat, but this is one of my favourite weekends of the year. The last weekend in May has always been Monaco, it's always been the Indy 500, and it's always been the Coca-Cola 600 as it's known in NASCAR world. So this is one that's always circled on my calendar, and I've already spoken to Shay and I've made myself my bed on the couch tonight, so the TV's primed, ready to go, and I won't be sleeping. So, I'm looking forward to all of the festivities tonight. Be home after the show for the MotoGP, and then we're straight into F1 action.
Well, if there's another date you should be circling, it's Sunday, June 12th, and that's the Paraka 200-lap endurance race held at the Prokarts Paraka karting facility, as round 2 of the Red Mill Bakery High Kart Series takes place for the Scuderia Ferrari Club in Adelaide. It's $150 per person. It's a 200-lap endurance race. There'll be a sausage sizzle and drinks provided. Drivers are going to be doing 50-lap stints. It's likely going to be wet, I would probably suggest, which means it's plenty of fun. So entries are open to general public as well as Scuderia Ferrari Club members. I'll certainly be racing on that. It'll be some much-needed seat time for myself. And you may be racing, potentially?
I believe I am, yeah. I think I'll be there. Had some caught up with my mum last night, so she definitely questioned me about it, and I believe we're in. But if it does come down with some rain, you might find me hard-pressed to want to get out there and get wet.
Well, for someone that has been spruiking about Sprint Master go-karts for probably the last 12 months now, and how you were going to come and reap all before you as the Grim Reaper that you are, the Dark Lord, you need seat time, Chief.
It's like a bike, mate. Once you've ridden a bike, you don't forget how to do it. So I'm sure it'll take me a few laps to get my eye in, but then we'll be back on the pace, and I'm not too worried about that.
Well, just to sort of G up a little bit, Simon Reichelt and Matt Stead been talking big games over the last few weeks, so they feel they need a challenge.
Okay, well, if I can bring them one challenge, then it's good. Hopefully my mum's been out there doing some practicing while I've been away, and we can take it to them, but we'll see. We'll see. Only time will tell. Got a couple of weeks left yet, and hopefully the weather gets most of its rain out this week.
I caught up with our dear friend Mr. Biscuits at the Taj Mahal, so to speak, at his parents' lovely home down in the let's call it the northeastern suburbs of Adelaide. And one of the good things I got to see was some of the results of your hard work and labour with the sleepers in their backyard. My God, mate, if the Miami circuit in 5 years looks anything like what those sleepers do right now, mate, they're in a world of trouble.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, to be honest, I'm surprised that backyard has held up. I am by no means a landscaper, but I did my best for them, and that was probably 10 years ago now, pushing on, and it's still holding up just, I think.
Yeah, it's not too bad for a person that doesn't specialise in landscaping and stuff like that, but it's a beautiful home. Like, the view of Adelaide from their backyard, their balcony area is just amazing. Yeah. Very, very envious. Yeah. And their car museum, if you want to call it that, which I won't disclose what cars I got to see, is actually pretty cool as well. Yeah,
they got some nice vehicles in the little garage there, but frequented that home on many occasions, and they've got a nice backyard now as well.
We still talk about the Scuderia Ferrari Club memberships. So without members, a club can't survive. And for $85, you will receive the cap, stubby holder, driver cards, membership card, and a leather-bound notebook as well, direct from Ferrari. You'll also receive Ferrari entitlements like driver meet and greets via Zoom. This weekend is a meet and greet with Mattia Binotto. You've got discounts off the Ferrari store, as well as having the opportunity to receive discounts on karting and motorsport items via the Scuderia Adelaide Racing Team, which is our little team. The club itself was also a really cool place to socialise and get your motorsport fix at a local level, and you can hang out with cool guys like me and Lee, and as well as the likes of Biscuits and co as well. So we do things like the Red Mill Bakery High Kart Championship. You've got the Move Yourself Trailers Tipping Championship, which will be starting very, very shortly. Social events, which we've got planned for the second half of this year in particular, and also an opportunity to step into club karting, either by joining the SRT and having support from the likes of TD Racing and Matt Hall and Lee and JK Tuning, and providing you with a support network to get you started in taking the next step. So what is the next step? Well, if you're keen, jump on to the website, www.sfcadelaide.com.au, on the online store, or hit us up on our Facebook page. Feel free to message, and one of us will get back to you with your inquiry. Mr. Harrison is a custodian of the club, initial board member, and has had many of good experiences there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't speak highly enough of the club. Like, I know we go on about it each week, but the social aspect is good, even if you're not necessarily a Ferrari fan like me, and you're more into the sport itself. It's a good club to be a part of because you get so much experience, so much knowledge, and you get to share your thoughts and opinions on what's happening with a bunch of like-minded individuals. We got all the exciting things like the karting championship, like you said, and it's just really fun to get together, shoot the crap, so to speak, of racing and motorsports of all forms. It doesn't even have to just be Formula One, but $85, like you said, with all those extra benefits included, is just a small price to pay to be together with all your motorsport friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking at if not equaling or if not eclipsing our membership base from last year. We're on track to do that, which is something that I'm really happy with. But also, given, as we mentioned in the last fortnight show, we shored up another 12 months with supporting Southern Go-Kart Club. There'll be a lot of initiatives that'll be coming out, some that are in planning at the moment, which I can't disclose yet, but they will certainly change the game and change the landscape a little bit, in particular for new members that are coming into club karting, but then also for people that are wanting to up their skill set in karting technical knowledge as well. Read between the lines there. But, mate, it's should be good. I'm looking forward to the next hour and a half with you, my dear friend.
Well, I've been looking forward to this afternoon to spend the time with you as well. So it's always good fun sitting down on the day before the show and reviewing all the motorsport that's gone on in the world for the last few weeks and getting to spend a couple of hours talking about it.
Yes, well, speaking of which, we will be off to a break. We'll come back and we'll start to talk about karting and we'll see what's around the world.
Radio Italia 1.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. Time now is just after 7:15 on this dark and gloomy Sunday night here at the studios of Radio Italia Uno. We'll go straight into it with my co-host, Mr. Lee Harrison, into karting. And so round 3 of the Australian Karting Championship is going to be held at the Puckapunya track, which will be next week, I believe. From all reports, super fast course characterised by a long front straight and a sweeping turn 1.
Yeah, it's a really cool track. I love racing there. Lots of elevation change as well, where there's a steep uphill climb through turn 3, and then you go across a short little straight into probably the second tightest corner on the track, known as the bus stop, and that dips away very, very aggressively on the top of the apex of the first part of that sequence of corners, and then over another steep downhill section, sort of around turn 6. But awesome track out there in the Seymour area of Victoria, Puckapunya. It's across the road from the Army base in Melbourne, and yeah, beautiful, beautiful track. Yeah,
it looked pretty good. I saw some video footage the other day that Lee Hanachek put up about a race in the KZ class with Dave Serra and Marian Kremers, etc., out there racing and battling really hard as well, which was really cool. But I just wanted to go through the championship tallies very quickly of all the classes. This particular race, or this round, will be make or break for those that are wanting to have a serious shot at the AKC. So I'll go through the classes. We'll start with KZ2. Cody Gillis is actually sitting on 117 points, followed by Jay Cool on 83 and Adrian Hark on 76. Cody's been having a cracking season. Troy Losco, if he's looking to defend this title, he'd want to have an absolute A-plus round here at Puckapunya.
Time to start scoring some points. It's not quite in the top 3, but it's not over until the fat lady sings, and there's still time.
Yeah, absolutely. KA2, we've got Lewis St. Francis on 86. Costa de Paris on 85 and Toby Dvorak on 75 points. Very, very tight.
Yes, and most of these junior classes are. A lot of the kids are racing out there for sheep stations. They've got a lot to prove.
X30, Jace Matthews on 141 points, Jaden Pope on 112 and Bradley Jenner on 93. And then we've got Tag 125 with Zachary Hurd on 98 points, Lee Nicolau on 85 and then Thomas Gallagher on 82 points. KA3 Senior, we've got Alex Ninovich on 136, Jay Brown on 104 and Jace Matthews on 84 points. KA4 Junior, we've got Patrick Buckley on 109, Brody Norris on 81 and Benjamin Munro on 78 points. Cadet 12, Sebastian Eskandari Morandi on 137, Hamish Campbell on 108 and Riley Harrison on 101. And then Cadet 9, we've got Cruz Kelly on 134 points, Jackson Brasher on 111, and Blake Hay on 87 points. So there's some tight championships going at the moment. Make or break for this one. If they have a shocking round here, it's going to be tough to make up for lost ground with 2 rounds remaining. Yeah,
and a lot of those tight championships, a lot of those kids are going to be up the front. They're locals. This track lends itself to a bit of draft action as well. If you can just keep it clean in the front pack, you can sort of hang tight with everybody. So it's going to be exciting racing. Normally is when you get to Puckapunyal. So looking forward to tuning in on the Sunday afternoon and watching the finals live.
Yeah. On the local front, the Barossa Go-Kart Club had their race last night as part of their club round. But again, Speed Hive was not cooperating in terms of results, so we have nothing to share about that outside of the fact that it was cold, it was wet, and very tricky conditions at night time.
Normally is down there. It's freezing cold this time of year in the Barossa Valley, but good to see everybody rocking up for that race meeting and braving the weather conditions.
I hope you're boarding your tickets, my friend, because we're going to have a trip around the world.
I'm going to start with Formula 2 in Around the World segment, and Jack Doohan scored his first Formula 2 podium and has also been privy enough to test Alpine's 2021 F1 car, as he has his eyes set on a 2023 seat. I don't know where that seat's going to come from because, everyone seems pretty set in their contracts at the moment. But in terms of the championship in Formula 2, they're doing his 8th on 33 points, 53 behind the leader Felipe Drugovich, who is almost unstoppable this year. In NASCAR, heading across to my sort of where I've been recently in America, we've had Ryan Blaney winning the NASCAR All-Star race after a late race controversy with a late caution flag on the last lap. Normally on the last lap, the last flag ends the race, which he thought the race was finished. Turns out that in the All-Star race, the rules are a little bit different, and they did a full restart. So he lost his window net, and there was some controversy around that as well, thrown in by the guy that finished second of all people. So you can understand the controversy there. And also in NASCAR news, Kimi Räikkönen is returning. My man, the myth, the legend.
Frothing at the mouth you are.
First NASCAR Cup Series race. He's going to join Trackhouse Racing later this year at Watkins Glen for a shot on the road courses. As we touched on earlier, we'll go to IndyCar. We've got the Indy 500 on tonight. Arguably the greatest motor race in the world. New Zealand's Scott Dixon on pole for the 4th time in his illustrious career. It's not done by too many more people. Will Power is 11th and Scott McLaughlin starting from 26th, but he still has his eyes on the prize and thinks he can win the race from there.
It's a long race.
Will Power leads the championship on 170 points. Alex Palau second on 156, and Scotty Mack is third on 152. So that's a tight championship after the 5th round. Formula E, Eduardo Mortara and Nick de Vries have shared wins at the Berlin E-Prix last weekend. Stoffel Van Dorn leads this championship on 111 points, with Mortara in second on 99. And your second favourite sport, I swear, is the World Rally Championship. And
it's in the blood.
Carle Rovanpera has won the Rally Portugal, beating home Eli Evans and Danny Sordo. Rovanpera now leads the championship on 106 points, with Thierry Neuville in second on 46 points behind.
Very good, Mr. Harrison. I'll just fill you in on the TCR. So Josh Buchan won his first TCR race last night at the Sydney Motorsport Park with a comprehensive lights to flag victory in the Super Cheap Auto TCR series. Aaron Cameron finished second, followed by Jordan Cox and Dylan O'Keefe, and Michael Caruso, one of our guests in previous episodes, retired from 10th position, forfeiting the reverse grid pole position. In today's races, races 2 and 3, Jay Hansen won race 2 from Luke King and Nathan Morecambe, and in the final race today, Nathan Morecambe led a Hyundai i31-2 with Josh Buchan coming home in second spot. That is Around the World, ladies and gents. We'll be off to a break, and then when we come back, we'll have our interview with Charlie Bullis.
Radio Italia 1.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. Now we enter into our segment of V8 Supercars, and I'll kick Lee aside for one moment and introduce one of our dear friends to the show. This lovely lady is actually one of the journos and presenters for V8 Supercars, Girls on Track champion, and also runs a podcast, I believe, with Careers with Gears. She's been a massive advocate for us, and I'll explain very shortly. But I want to welcome into the show Charlie Bullis. How are you?
Hi, how are you guys? I have to apologise for my voice, which is great to be on a podcast when you're losing your voice. But I came down with the dreaded flu, and I'm just trying to kick it. So I feel like, I don't know if anyone's a fan of Friends, when Phoebe gets the flu and then she starts like doing sort of underground performances and things like that. That's what I feel like I could maybe do right now. I've got the voice for it.
All good. Well, if you're going to croak, just signal to me first, and then I'll take over for you. How's that?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
I want to start first of all by thanking you, firstly for coming onto the show, but also for putting us on the map, I guess you could say. So, for those that are new to the show or are familiar with us, about 12 months ago, we sat down and did quite a lengthy sort of show with Todd Hazelwood. And within the next 24 hours, up comes this V8 Supercars article, main page, front of a article about Todd's mum, Sharon, which was actually an excerpt from our podcast. So I want to thank you for making Lee and I cry, because that was actually legit. It was a buzz to find out that we made front page of V8 Supercars. So, and that's kind of where our relationship started.
It definitely was. Like, I listened to the podcast, and I'm a huge fan of Toddy's. He knows that. You know, he was one of my first interviews ever before I sort of really went and chased my own dream. And I'm such a huge fan of how hard he has worked to get to where he is, and what his family has sacrificed and put on the line to make his dream come true. I'm a big fan of his sister, Lauren, who works at Motorsport Australia. She's very accomplished in her own right and wants to give back to the sport as much as she can. And I remember in 2019, I was at Bathurst, and I was a event official. I was standing at the bottom of the stairs checking tickets, and I was outside the MSR garage, which is where Toddy was at the time. And I watched Sharon hustle and work sponsors and just, do everything she needed to make sure her son went racing. So when I heard the story in his own words on the Negative Camber podcast, I thought, I have to share this. This is so good. And if anyone has yet listened to that episode or read the article, the amount of sausage sizzles that family has done to make Toddy's dream come true is just outstanding, astonishing. I don't think anyone has ever cooked that many sausages in a year, isn't it? It's ridiculous. It's something like 8,000 sausages or something. Yeah,
it's insane. In fact, on my way into the studio, they were actually out there at Mitre 10 at Glynn this morning with the marquee up, and Sharon and Rusty were there. So it's ongoing. Yeah,
They're just amazing. And yet now, at Albert Park, I got to catch up with Sharon, and we had a good old chat and a good old laugh. And yeah, they're all just wonderful, that family. And then Alice as well, Todd's girlfriend, she's an accomplished karter.
Yep.
Just wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen? I never forget when we were in the pits. I was fortunate enough to watch the race at the Adelaide 500, 2018, I think it was 2018, 2019. And for the whole race, Sharon's fingers were like this behind the monitor, and I'm sitting there going, man, if you don't have arthritis by the end of this, it was like this for the whole race. And she was just glued to the monitor, didn't deviate from the timing screen, poked her head out when Todd came in to do, say his pit stops. And it was like that the whole time. It was just and I don't even think she realizes that she does it now. It's become habitual. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Such a humble kid. I say a kid because I feel like I'm nearly he's almost his dad in terms of my age versus his. But no, I completely agree. Like, that's rags to riches, but that I think they really reflect what motorsport is actually really like here in Australia in terms of how hard you have to work to achieve your dream.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I think, my son started karting a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, where we've moved from Queensland to Queensland, he's not karting at the moment, but just in general, just to get your child to the kart track. And then my son sort of is not even really at the point where he wants to pursue it really any further. But then you think of, what a parent goes through just to get to their son to the track on a Sunday. Yeah. I don't do any of it. Whereas if you think if your son actually wants to, or daughter wants to pursue it as their dream, that would be your whole life. And I think that we can only kind of comprehend, and they probably never even tell us what they really have gone through in those moments of, do we put our house on the line, or I don't know. But you sort of, for me, and I'm sure for yourself, to shine a light on those stories and say, hey, this is what it needs to be. This is what you need to do to make your dreams come true. Come happen. What? Seriously, I think the codrill's kicking in, guys. Sorry.
All good. You're all good. I'm not judging you, Dale. It's all right.
But this is what you've got to do to make your dream come true. And I think, in I'm going to sound really old now. In the world that we live in now, with social media, everyone's just showing their highlight reel of, I've made it, whether that's true or not. But no one shows the journey, and no one is kind of, well, some people are, some people aren't, but it doesn't feel like a lot of people are reaching out their hands and saying, come with me, I'll help you. So, it's sort of, I think we really need to, show those stories. I think it's really important for the next generation to say, okay, Toddy's made it, but hey, Toddy put in years and years and years of hard work to get there.
Yeah, completely agree. Speaking of journey, who's Charlie Bullis? How did she get into V8 Supercars journalism?
Well, good question. I have a very, very long answer. If you've ever heard me on a podcast or anything before, I apologise. You're going to hear it again. But if you haven't heard it before, look, I moved over from England in 2006 with my family, just about to turn 18. I did not want to come. I had dreams of being a journalist, a fashion journalist, which is what most girls, 15-year-old girls want to be. Did not grow up in a motorsport family in any way, shape or form. But I remember in 2006, I actually went to Gold Coast Indy, and I was blown away. I was like, I cannot believe these guys drive that close to concrete. It is just terrifying, but also electrifying on the same page. So, but yeah, look, went to go and try to go to the Sunshine Coast University to become a journalist, and they looked at my straight A's because I was a bit of sorry, I can probably say kiss ass in school.
I was going to go geek, but that's cool.
Well, you'll learn this about me. Networking's my thing.
Yeah.
So I'd say I'm clever, but I kiss ass pretty well. So I took my straight A's to uni, and I was like, oh, they're going to just let me in, aren't they? Come on. And then they looked at them and went, oh, we don't know what these are. You'll have to go back to year 9 and start again.
You kidding?
And no. So I was an 18-year-old girl, and I thought 2 things crossed my mind. 1, no. And 2, I don't think it's a good idea to put me in a room full of 15-year-old boys. Just say, I don't think that's a great idea. So I just went and got a job and just worked in hospitality, as you do, and really bounded around for several years. I reached my early 20s, and I never really stuck in a job more than 6 months because I didn't know who I was, didn't know what I wanted, thought I had this plan, and it was never going to come true, and I just had to accept it. Looking back now, you think, Jesus, you didn't even go and get a second opinion. Like, why did you not try and fight that? But at the time, it was, I didn't have a friend in the world. We've moved to the other side of the planet. So, and my dad was like, you need to go get a job, you need to start your life. So that's what I did. And then we'll fast forward again. So moved to Brisbane in about 2010, met my husband 2011, and then, had my son in 2013. And then, so then I wanted to be at home, wanted to spend time with him, and little opportunities kept coming my way to do presenting and to do writing. And they came out of the blue in really odd ways.
Yeah.
So it was always in the back of my mind. It was always niggling at me saying, this is what you should be doing, like wake up to yourself, essentially. But that moment didn't happen until my son started school. And I remember this so vividly, and I'll remember it forever. He probably will as well, because I tell it that much, and he'll be like, for God's sake, stop telling this story. But it was his first day of school. He comes home from school and he asks me the question, Mum, what am I going to be when I grow up? And I said to him, buddy, you can be whatever you want to be. Just don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. And that for me was like, oh my gosh, light bulb, you massive, massive hypocrite. How can you say that to your own son when you let one person that looked at a piece of paper and then told you that you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So luckily, look, I was in a position where I could then go back to uni as a mature age student. By mature age, I was 10 years older than all of those kids in there.
Yeah.
But I was 10 years hungrier than all of those kids in there.
Yeah.
Because this was my shot. So I went to a uni that was super hands-on, had a newsroom. So you were expected to be writing and creating news as soon as you walked in that door, which is what I wanted.
Yep.
And then from there, the networking began. So coincidentally, but also kind of cosmically, I would say, my husband had begun racing in the New South Wales sports sedans.
Yep.
So he was in Division 3. And I sort of looked around grassroots motorsport and thought, gosh, there's a distinct lack of female representation here. And by all means, I'm all for women in motorsport, but I was, to be brutally honest with you, I was for myself in motorsport. I wanted to be in it, and I saw that I was someone that could fill a gap that was there.
Was it mainly, was it the appeal of it from a speed and a thrill type of thing as well? I mean, obviously hubby was racing, but was it the spectacle? I mean, grassroots is not really the spectacle as such, but was that what was also driving you too?
I think for me, it was seeing the highs and lows firsthand.
Yeah.
It was like Bathurst 12-hour 2020 before the world changed. It was heading to 40 degrees and the tin tops were the support category. My husband had just bought a C6 Corvette space frame with a massive big Dodge engine that is more volatile than I'll ever be. And we are, you know, and it's the effort to get there, the work on the car, and you get there on the Friday. You've taken time off work, obviously. You've got there on the Thursday. I think you get there because it's all practice and everything. And, you know, he comes down into the chase and a coolant cap that looks like it's threaded on, but because it's got a weird threading to it, actually isn't on, comes off, spills coolant over the front wheels, and he goes into the gravel. It rips the front splitter completely off the car. He's doing over 200 k's an hour. The car's done.
Yeah.
I was actually working for Speed Cafe that weekend, and I'm sitting in the media centre, and because there's no broadcast coverage of it at the time, I'm watching the timing screens, and I'm seeing everyone else go green apart from my husband's name.
Yeah.
And I can see that it's been red flagged, and I can see everyone else coming back into the pits, and I can see that he's not moving. And I know I'm on the other side of the paddock, and I've got my 7-year-old son with me, and it's 40 degrees to the point where you're running across the paddock and your feet are sticking to the tarmac because it's melting.
Yeah.
And by the time I get there, the car's been pulled in, it's trashed.
Yeah.
And I think that, to answer your question, that for me was, this is, as horrible as that is, this is what motorsport is. This is, you've got the highest of the highs when you're standing on the top of the podium, and all your hard work and the sacrifice and everything that you've given to it has come to a great moment. But then you've got, anyone, it doesn't matter if you're Shane Van Gisbergen or someone racing in an XLs, you've got probably 15,000 of those moments where you've crashed the car or something's gone wrong, or you've just gone to the starting line and the car won't start, or there's a million things, that those moments that you've gone through to then get yourself to that top step. And I think for me that's motorsport, and that's what I wanted to share within the job that I do.
Great. Well, we're just going to go off to a break because this is really starting to get interesting. And when we're going to come back, we'll talk about how you actually got into supercars and also explore women in motorsport a little bit more, because you touched on it just then, and I want to go down that little rabbit hole a bit as well. So we'll be off to a break, and then when we come back, we'll have Charlie Bullis continuing this chat for V8 Supercars.
Radio Italia 1.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting the Scuderia Ferrari Club of Adelaide. And I'm with the lovely Charlie Bullis, the reporter from V8 Supercars. And so continuing on from where we left off, so you've started to get that exposure of motorsport. What was the road that led you to get your gig at Supercars?
Pretty much as I alluded to before, I'm pretty good at, networking. So that's what I did. And I just looked around for so many, any opportunity I could find. And I think I was sitting one evening watching Fox Sports 506, a good channel that, plenty of motorsport on it. Mm-hmm. And I spend my life glued to it, I think. And there was a motorsport category called TA2, and it was the highlights of their previous round. And then I saw they were going to be at Sydney Motorsport Park, which was 20 minutes down the road to me, and that was September 2020. Is that right? Beg your pardon, 2019. Yep. And so I contacted their media person and said, I'd really like to come down, see if I could help out. And if anyone who doesn't know, the person that runs that category is Craig Denyer. And Craig Denyer is a very well-respected motorsport figure. He is the man behind V8 Utes. Charlie in 2019 didn't know that. So Charlie in 2019 turned up at Sydney Motorsport Park and said to Craig Denyer, give me a go. I really want to be here. I want to do this. I want to do some presenting. Give me a go. And he said, have you done it before? And I went, yeah, I've done it before. What are you talking about, Craig? Why have you not seen me and stuff? And then he said, yeah, you know what? You give it a go. I need this package done about father and son races. You do that for me. I watch it. If I like it, you come back tomorrow. It was very mob style, and I liked it. Yep. So I said, okay, no worries. So went away. I did it. And then on Saturday, that was Friday evening, he said, come back tomorrow. And then on Saturday, did other things. Okay, come back tomorrow. Yep. And then from that, I was able to build a bit of a show reel. And then I think it was a couple of weeks later, they had their penultimate round at Queensland Raceway. And that was an incredible round. Aaron Seaton, it just came down to the wire, and he managed to... He crashed in the opening race. It was a twilight race. He crashed and the car was completely totaled. They stayed up all night fixing the car. He goes back out there and wins it, rolls back into pit lane. He's got a flat tyre. It was like you could not write the story. It was incredible. And then, from there, the ball just started rolling. And I went to Bathurst. As I said before, I was an event official. I stood at the bottom of Tower 3 and I spoke to every single person that went by. Matt Nolte, Chad Nailon, Bryony Ingerson, Kylie King, Kate Peck. I spoke to all of them and said, how do I do what you do? And oh my gosh, they were all so amazingly gracious, for one, and didn't think that I was a complete weirdo that was stalking everyone that walked by. Yeah. But Chad Nailon and Matt Nolte, I owe a lot to those two, and I am such massive fans of them, not only in the work that they do, but just good people. And they mentioned my name to the right person. And it still took a year of me proving that I could do the job. And I still had to go through quite a lengthy interview process that I was convinced I was not getting the job at all. And then I worked harder than everyone else. Well, I felt like I did, worked harder than everyone else, or wanted to work harder than everyone else there to prove that I deserved to be there in such a really short amount of time, because I popped out of the snow like a daisy. It was 2 years really from me saying, yes, I'm going to do this, to me walking in the door at Supercars. Yeah. Does that happen to a lot of people? No, it doesn't. But I worked really hard for it. I told everyone that's what I wanted to do. I think sometimes we can get so scared of saying, oh no, this is what I want. I wasn't scared of that. I was more scared that I wasn't going to get there. So that made me go ahead and do it. So, and I think it was, and just genuinely, as we were saying before, about sharing those other stories, finding those stories about the person under the helmet and the person that, sharing the stories like the Tickford mums, for example, that we shared on Mother's Day. Yep. It's Tim Edwards' wife and her best friend. They've started being the chefs and the looking after the whole team. And they started that during COVID. And they are the two most wonderful women, and what they do for that team. And it's feeding the team, but they're such an integral part of making sure those boys are feeling their best to go and race. And everyone they feed everyone from the truck driver to Cam Waters, and sharing those stories. I think that's what I want to leave behind for Supercars.
Yeah. I think it's props to you for the tenacity, because there's other people that would have thrown the towel in well before you did. But I guess it's and I don't know if you believe in the whole law of attraction thing. Like you put it out there, you put it out to the universe, and then it came back to you. So props to you. But no, I agree. I think forget Supercars as a sport on the media front. In the last couple of years, it's really started to sort of come to the forefront, where you see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that in the past has been almost mythical. And I think in this day and age, and you've seen it with F1, with Drive to Survive and that type of thing as well, where the behind the scenes stuff is what attracts the new generation, because they can see, and there's a lot of transparency there. And I think that'll actually make the sport, it's it's just as popular in its own way, but back to like what they call the peak era, which was early to mid 2000s, sort of Project Blueprint era, where crowds were massive and everything was just, the series was going off.
Absolutely, and I think that's what we all want. You're working at Supercars because you love the sport. Like maybe like me, you maybe weren't someone that grew up in it. But you're certainly someone that loves and respects the sport and respects the people that are in it, and only really want the best for the sport. And, all of us, not just in the digital team like me, but events team, commercial, everyone, we all just want the best for the sport. And I think, sharing those moments, those candid moments, and I totally understand why drivers and teams, yes, there's a lot of IP in what they do. There is so much, and they work so hard to find that teeny tiny 1% that goes and beats the other team. I totally understand that. But for fans to connect with our sport, it is about showing those candid moments of, like just seeing Lee Holdsworth hugging his kids after, standing on the podium after, losing his seat and then coming back, like those moments, and just seeing little baby Ryu wandering around like near the trophy, and the trophy's bigger than him. Like it's just those little moments. And then there's also those great things where we see, but at the beginning of the year, we had our media day and we got the drivers to sit down and tell each other dad jokes. That is rated so well. Yeah. And I'm so proud that I wrote some of those dad jokes, because if you do follow me on Instagram, prepare yourself for dad jokes, because I love a good dad joke.
There's that coming after, don't worry. Don't worry.
I've got to get my list of all the funny ones. I saw such a good one about IKEA yesterday. I'm nearly done. It's so good. It took a while to put together. Boom. Okay. Just warming you up for some dad jokes. But I think it's just those candid things that fans connect with and they crave now. And there's a reason why Drive to Survive is so popular, is because there's a camera in that holding room before they go on the podium. Yep. And there's just those little conversations that you see the drivers, geeing each other up, or they're talking tech, but you see the smirk on their faces and you can feel the tension in the air when you watch it. And I think that's something that, Supercars digital team, we're always striving to get those moments and to bring a lot of humour, because our guys, our drivers and our teams, they're genuinely like everyday kind of blokes. Like, whereas F1, there's a lot of money there. Those guys are normally, they feel a little bit more untouchable, whereas our guys are just everyday guys that have worked really hard to where they need to get to where they need to be. And then really when they're not at the track, they're hanging out with their mates out on the boat, or they're going fishing, or they're going karting and just doing sort of more like normal people things. Yeah. And it'd be great to sort of, I think a lot of our fans think that, I can watch Chaz win a race on a Sunday, but, I'd love to have a beer with him down the pub. And I think that's what makes our sport just perfect to me.
Yeah. The thing I love about it too, and it's always been like this, is just how approachable everyone is. The drivers have always been, they've been more than willing to have autographs and that sort of thing, whereas F1 has only really sort of started to touch on the fan connection really since Liberty Media took over about 3 or 4 years ago. Whereas before, to get a chance to even meet an F1 driver was just, almost like a once in a lifetime experience, which it shouldn't be. Like it's the pinnacle of motorsport, but at the end of the day, it's the people that walk through the gate that largely fuel it. So why not have that connection with the fans?
Absolutely. And I felt that in Albert Park. It was my first time that I'd been to a Grand Prix, which makes me sad, knowing obviously I'm English, so I should have gone to hundreds by now. But and I caught a glimpse of them just by chance. I just happened to be standing at the podium, and I had to be there for someone who fell ill that day. So I wasn't even really meant to be there. And all the drivers walked out underneath the podium as we were all standing there for the Supercars podium, because we're not allowed in their paddock. So even though we're a support category for F1, we're not allowed in there.
Yeah.
Our passes don't open the gates. So we're at the top level of motorsport in our country. We are still, I still felt a bit like, oh, okay, we're not at that level.
Yeah.
So I think it would be great for fans of F1 to be able to get more of that one-on-one experience. But then that is obviously what makes our sport so wonderful, is that we have signing sessions, and you've got young kids that can go get their hat signed by their favourite driver, or we host breakfasts and things where you can go to a Bunnings and go catch up with Frosty and Scott Pye and go and have a chat to them, like outside the Bunnings. Like that, to me, that's really cool. Like that's meeting your hero. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's touch on the women in motorsport aspect. It's, I don't want to say this in the wrong terms, and forgive me for that, but it's like there's a movement now, and globally, women in motorsport, it's a rare thing, at least at the top level. I think when I look back on it, Australia has probably pioneered that a little bit more, in the respect that we've had women racing at the top level since the 70s with, say, Christine Gibson, as an example, Simona Di Silvestro, how have you seen that from your perspective, especially given the fact that you've, when I say relatively new to the sport, you have it hasn't been a DNA thing for you.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jamie. I think we have pioneered it in a way. I think there is so many women that have paved the way for women like myself that I don't have any intentions of racing. I did it once. I was terrible. Did a test day. It was absolutely shocking. But there are so many wonderful, wonderful women that have paved the way in so many different areas of this sport, and I will forever be thankful for them, because they've made that door that I still feel like I bust through the door, but they made that door just even available to me, and I will forever be grateful. And I think now there is a lot of women that are in the sport behind the scenes that feel that way and feel like, well, those women that pioneered it, they were on their own. And we don't want the next generation of girls to feel like they're on their own. So I think that's why you just hear about it so much more now, because we're trying to make a lot of noise. You've got girls on track that want to make a lot of noise and just make it very visible, which I'm so here for. And again, like I was saying before, it is also about saying where you want to go and actually saying it and be like, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go, and make some noise. So then the other girls and young boys, I think this is not an us and them thing. I think that's, I do kind of get a few comments about that as, would you help a young boy? Of course I would. Like I've got a son of my own. Of course I would help a young boy. It's just, unfortunately, a young boy won't come to me for advice. A young girl does.
Yeah.
Whereas, if a young boy came to me for advice, of course I would help him. There is no two ways about it. This is not a gender thing. This is just about being someone that can be seen, that other people can go, oh, hey, if they can do it, then I can do it. Yeah. Like if a 30-year-old mother can turn around and say, you know what, I'm going to completely change my life to make my dream happen, you can do it too. Like I'm no one special. So I think like Leanne Tander, we need to thank Leanne Tander. We need to thank Molly Taylor. There's so many other women that we really need to thank. Jess Dane is a massive one of them as well. She brought Girls on Track to Australia and had those hard conversations with women like Susie Wolff. I couldn't talk to Susie Wolff. I'd blow up in flames. I wouldn't be able to talk to her. Yeah. I'd completely fangirl all over her. So I think it's we have to thank those women, and those women continue to give their time and energy to make sure that, we're making a lot of noise so that other girls can feel supported to go and do it. But I think where me and Careers with Gears, what I kind of started is taking the next step of, okay, well, this is where you want to go. How do I do it? How do I physically get to where you are? And it's, okay, well, what is it you want to do? Let's match you with someone that is doing it and shadow them, see what they do, see if you actually like it, for one. But then also learn that motorsport in Australia is one of those incredible places where if you show that you want to be here and you want to work hard, you are welcomed with open arms. And it honestly does not matter your gender. It doesn't. You speak to team owners like Tim Edwards, I know, is very much like that. If you want to do the job, I don't care if you're a boy or a girl. If you want to be here and you want to do the job because it's not a 9 to 5, then I will help you and I'll be there for you. And Erebus as well, they're very, very much like that. So, and Motorsport Australia and, of course, Girls on Track, they're very, very much with their Champions program, which I'm a part of. That's very, very much where they're heading. We are encouraged to mentor. We're encouraged to have girls come and spend time with us at the track and just experience it and feel comfortable in pit lane. Because I think that's probably the biggest thing to begin with. Because it's extremely daunting. Yeah, absolutely. The thing I love about motorsport, just before we go to our next break, we see it with our 2 little girls that race in the Scuderia Adelaide racing team, which is our local karting team. They more than hold their own. In fact, in many cases, they're the ones that are actually finishing on the top steps of the podium. And unless they take the helmet off, the thing I love about especially grassroots motorsport is that you don't know whether they're male or female until you hear the name or you see them rip the helmet off. Everyone looks exactly the same. They're driving the same thing, and in many respects, they're probably more tenacious. The thing I love about watching our girls in the team grow and develop is that's part of the rewarding aspect of the journey. But then also to see, the photos of them standing on the top step of the podium, big cheesy grin, and you see all the boys around them just like, all downtrodden and stuff like that. It's really cool, and you get a little chuckle out of it. So, look, I love the fact from our point of view that we are helping fostering that growth in any way, shape, or that we can. I mean, we're only a very, very, very small team with no budget, but people like yourself that have got that platform to help with that generation come through, props off to all of you, I think it's really important what you're doing as well. Grassroots motorsport, none of us would be here without it. So to keep grassroots motorsport and keep fresh, young kids wanting to come into the sport, that is what it's all about. And anyone that ever says to me, where do you begin? I say grassroots motorsport. That is where you need to cut your teeth. That's where you need to understand all the different roles. That's where you go. And I think what is so wonderful about what you're doing is, to give your young girls that opportunity is amazing. And the confidence, resilience, and, like you say, tenacity that karting teaches you, you cannot buy that. And I just think that, okay, hold on. Karting's not cheap. So technically you've probably bought it. But the actual experience you can't buy. And I think, congratulations to you, because it's not easy. And, like we were saying earlier in the show, it takes up so much time and effort just to get to the track. But then, what you're giving them and what you're giving motorsport as a whole by bringing in the next generation, it's amazing.
Thank you. And we need to thank our sponsors now, because we're going to go off to a break. And then when we come back, we'll have some more of Charlie.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting the Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. We hope you're enjoying the show so far. I've got Charlie Bullis, V8 Supercars journalist, on the line, and we're now going to talk Winton, the event just gone. My summation was that it was the Shane Van Gisbergen and Cam Waters show. I don't know what your takeaway was from that.
It definitely was, with a side of David Reynolds, which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, it's The big thing for me was Tickford finally delivered in spades at their home track, and it was actually good to see. I think the big thing I found in the championship this year is that the only constant is Shane van Gisbergen. Everything else underneath that is not. But you're right. The growth of Grove in this championship in particular has been great. So to see Dave back to his best it's great for the sport. You need to have David Reynolds in there, even for his wit.
Oh, absolutely. And a happy David Reynolds is just amazing to be around, genuinely. And I think it's so interesting because we are seeing a very quick trajectory towards a career best David Reynolds this year. I think I was looking at some sort of stats before, and fair enough, there's no win, but his career best of fifth, he's at fifth right now. So he's on this track to, he has given away some points with some DNFs and some other things that have gone wrong, kind of out of his control. So I think I read it was 136 points that have gone awry for him. If he'd have kept those, he would be in shooting distance of where Anton is. Yeah. So I think, David Reynolds is 100% the one to watch. And it makes me excited because, you put a microphone in front of David Reynolds and you never know what you're going to get. And it makes me laugh. And he's just so honest and nice. And, and he will tell you himself, he's an interesting cat. And I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it's the times that I've seen Davey in the pit, it's always hey bro, how you going? And he doesn't know me from a bar of soap, but it's almost like we've got this thing, like it's like, hey Dave, how are you? So I'd love to get him on the show at one point as well. I actually was thinking today, one thing I miss is below the bonnet. Like I don't know what happened and why it's not hasn't come back this year, but it'd be good to have him and Caruso sort of back together again, just firing bullets at each other. It's great. You miss that banter.
Definitely, their banter. Like I do the Paddock Club Q&As, and when I see that Dave Reynolds and Lee Holdsworth are on my list, oh my gosh, I literally rub my hands together and go, this is going to be amazing. We did one in Perth, and oh God, I can't probably tell the story without laughing. But Dale Wood walked in, they're heckling Dale Wood because everyone says that Dale Wood's got like an amazing rig. Everyone, doesn't matter if Dale Wood walks into a room, everyone screams, show us your rig, like the poor bloke. So they're heckling Dale Wood, and I'm trying to keep them on track and go, no, guys, it's like, let's talk about this, talk about that. And, because Davey lives like a stone's throw away from Albert Park, he was taking Lee back to his house afterwards and like making him dinner. So he was putting on like a slow roast. They'd go and race during the day and then they'd come back. And it's just, sorry, I'm going to cough now. Yeah. But it was just so funny and I just genuinely enjoy it. But I think Groves, what's so interesting, it's genuine pace. This isn't, Winton's their home track, it's their test track, they're going well there. It's not. Tasmania, he got a podium. Melbourne, Albert Park, podium, and now Winton, podiums. So this is a genuine return to form for them. But what was interesting, I found, is that you spoke to, David Couchy, a new addition to that team that's making big inroads pretty quickly. We all knew he would. He comes from Triple Eight. He's a championship winning engineer and he knows how to do it. Talking to Couchy, he thinks qualifying is a big weakness for them. So once they tick that box and get that one lap pace there, and we saw it, Reynolds was topping practice and blitzing everyone, and then he goes to qualifying and it wasn't quite there for him. So everyone struggled with tyres that weekend, but once they get that quite right, then I think they are going to be a real force. And I'm really looking forward to it because it wasn't something that any of us saw happening at the start of this year.
Yeah, no, far from it. And I think it was actually really good to see that Lee Holdsworth had actually gotten on top of his qualifying issues as well, because that was his big... I mean, he's got amazing race pace, but qualifying was a massive issue for him. He just couldn't connect with the car. I remember when we were watching the telecast at Sydney Motorsport Park, and he'd qualified at the back of the grid, and I think it was Chad that came up to him, Chad or Larko, They came up to him at the end of qualifying, and he was just as low as, he'd ever been. He just could not understand where the speed had gone.
Absolutely. And Lee is someone who's, throughout his career, has been a consistent performer. And, we saw just absolute magic in him at Bathurst last year with Chaz. That was just an incredible display from both of them.
Yeah.
And then, to sort of put him in that Mustang, and we were all rightly or wrongly expecting, because that's what we do, we expect highly of all of these guys on the grid. And then it just wasn't connecting for him, as you say. And then we get to Albert Park and we saw little bits of it happening. But then, his pace, we saw his pace in Perth. He was knocking people off left, right and centre and charging through the field. So you're right. There was never a question about that race pace. It was the qualifying. Something wasn't clicking. So now I just feel like they're on the precipice. They're picking through 1%ers now just to get that unlocked.
Yep.
And once they do, I think it's going to be something quite spectacular. However, Darwin last year for Penrite Racing was not good. Both Andre and Davey, I remember them sitting in those bins, the chili bins filled with water and ice, cooling down. And the pair of them, if they weren't laughing over the fact that the lid kept hitting Andre on the back of the head during the interview, the pair of them would have been crying. They were so downtrodden. So I'm really hoping that they've done enough to turn around Darwin, because we're there in 3 weeks.
Yeah. It was good to see that Walkinshaw Andretti United had a little bit of an upturn in performance, in particular with Chaz. Earlier in the season where they were just at the back of the grid for, I can't remember which round it was now. You'll need to refresh my memory. But where they were literally the slowest cars on the track, which was phenomenal considering how well their start of the year was, and they'd continue that momentum from Bathurst last year.
Yeah, to see Chaz leading the championship when we left Sydney, we were all like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is the championship fight that we wanted. And we knew he was going to Tasmania, somewhere that he'd won last year. And then we go to Perth.
Yes, that's right.
And there's Nick and Chaz, both cannot even qualify in the top 20. Yeah. And as the Supercars digital team, we're sitting there scratching our heads going, what is going on with this team? This is just not them. Yeah. And, and it was, because I just remember I asked Chaz in the press conference in Sydney, I was like, mate, you've won Bathurst, come on. And now you're leading the championship. I don't think I've ever seen a more comfortable and happy Chaz. Are we in Chaz Mostert's era? And he's like, well, he laughed at me. He was like, come on, calm down. We're round one. But, I'm loving it. Family's back. People are back at the track. This is great. And then to see what they kind of endured in Perth, and Garth Tander was kind of a bit scathing about their performance and just saying, guys, this isn't you, this isn't good enough. So to sort of see them battling back in Winton was really good. And I think you can't ever write Chaz off. He's talented, he really is. And I think for Nick, we're going to Darwin, where Nick won had a podium last year for BJR. Nick is a great racer. Everyone speaks so highly of Nick's talent, and with good reason. I think we just need to give him some time to develop himself in that car, feel more comfortable in that car. And I think Darwin, even Kurt Kostecki's wild card last year, he made it into the top 10. WAU cars at Darwin, at Hidden Valley, are pretty good. Yeah. So I'm definitely not writing them off. Their season is far from over. I just think it's probably not going to look like what they maybe thought it would this year. Yeah,
exactly. And look, you're right. There's never been a slow Walkinshaw car at Hidden Valley. I mean, even if you go back as far as the Scaife and Lowndes era, they were always there or thereabouts. So definitely can't write them off. Tickford have been up and down in the past there. They've had some good appearances there, and they've had some shocking ones as well. I think for me, it's really important if Cam's going to make a really, really big play in this championship that they have a really solid Darwin. But I think the same goes with DJR as well. If they don't start to really chew into Shane Van Gisbergen's points lead at the moment, that this title race will be well and truly over before we even get to Bathurst.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tickford, I'm a massive Tickford fan. I am. I have to say, I know I'm not meant to play favourites. My son's favourite driver is Cam Waters. I've told James Courtney that when he retires, I will cry. I won't be able to handle it. You know, I cried when he won the championship in 2010. You know, I just will. Yeah. So, you know, call me biased, whatever. But I think Tickford kind of like being an underdog. They like it. You know, last year in Townsville won. It was abysmal. Give them a week and give them something to chase and something to really, be the underdog. They came back the following week and Cam obliterated everyone.
Yeah.
So again, we saw it in Perth. The penalty, which I won't go into, saw him lose the win.
Yep.
And he comes back, and even his engineer, his direct quote was, he's going to harness the frustration. Comes back in Winton, 2 poles, 2 wins. So I think Tickford love being an underdog.
Yep.
I think it fuels them in a way, but by all means, they deserve to be up there and challenging for wins all the time. And I would love to see Tom Randall really get a handle on what he's doing as well at the moment. I think in Winton, we saw him running consistently 12-14s, which for him, there was a smile on his face.
Yeah.
I think the last few rounds, he's felt quite under pressure and felt quite just not comfortable, whereas Winton, we saw him leaving with a smile. So I'm hoping that's the trajectory for him that's just going to keep growing. We've seen James Courtney on the podium this year. We saw him leading a race in Perth, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
So I think Tickford, they definitely have it without a shadow of a doubt. I just genuinely think they do enjoy being the underdog and rising to that underdog challenge. They do enjoy it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. JC is certainly connected with his Mustang this year. It's been the best he's been in terms of outright pace, and I think overall competitiveness for probably at least 3 or 4 years. So it's good to see. He's still a class act, irrespective of experience, age, etc. So he'll definitely play a part as the championship wears on, without a doubt. But Tom Randall too is also a very, very classy driver. So I think by the end of the year he'll be a lot more prominent in the top 10 without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And I keep asking because Snowy River Caravans is James Courtney's sponsor this year, and we saw him with the Akubra in Winton. So I'm just going to put it out there and say that he has to release a line of Akubras because no one would do it better. I just think he's just got it. It would just be hilarious if we could just go to a racetrack and buy an Akubra.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we on the show have a segment called Jamie's Jokes, which is really a series of really bad dad jokes. And I know, based on your social media, that you love a dad joke or two. So we're going to have a dad joke off. And then we'll include this in the show, of course. And then later on, we'll do another segment of Jamie's Jokes as well. So I don't know whether you want to go first, considering you're our guest of honour for this evening. But I'll let you go.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to kick off with the IKEA one that I teased earlier.
Cool.
Because this one, I'm really going to try and not laugh because I'll probably go into a coughing fit from my flu. Okay. So the CEO of IKEA has just been appointed the Prime Minister of Sweden. He's currently assembling his cabinet.
I like that one. That's good. That's good.
So good.
All right. This might actually get you laughing. All right.
Oh, God. Okay.
What did the shipmates find in the toilet?
Oh.
The captain's log.
Oh, I read that one this morning.
Oh, God. That's great.
That is good.
That is good. Oh, fire another one at me.
What I absolutely love is that people send me dad jokes now. Yeah. And Warren Luff, who I adore in so many ways, we only communicate in dad jokes. So there's no hi, how are you, good morning. We just send each other dad jokes. That's all we do. And it's just great. The best, absolute best. So do you want to read? I'll read you some of the ones that Luffy sent me if you like.
Yeah, go.
He will love that. He will just think he's hilarious. I always give him a shout out. He's such a good bloke. Gosh. Yeah. He actually sent me the captain's log one. But let's find another one that he sent me. If you think your microwave collecting data and the TV spying on you is bad enough, the vacuum cleaner has been gathering dirt on you for years.
Oh, man, that's gold. I've just deleted all the German names off my pre-owned iPhone. It's hands-free now.
Oh, that's good. Oh, I like that one. That is very, very good. I actually do have one that's probably a little bit political. Can I?
Go for it. Go for it.
All right.
I'll give you authority.
What do you call a Russian bedpan?
What?
A Putin. Probably going to lose my job over that one. But anyway.
No. All right. This will be my last one. So after you die, the last part of your body to stop working are your pupils because they dilate.
Oh. You win. I cannot follow that one. That was so good.
You have my permission to use it.
Oh, okay. That is amazing. I'm going to send that one to Warren Love. He will love that.
Go for it.
He will love that. So good.
Charlie, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And unfortunately, due to time constraints, we could probably talk for another 3/4 of an hour about everything. So, yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you. I truly enjoy it. And it's such a wonderful thing to, we've known each other for way over a year now. And, to be a part of the show, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, look, very briefly before we ended up, I was thinking about it the other week where we've done this show for about 12 months and you're actually our first female guest. So it's something that, I sort of sat back and thought, wow, we've done this show for 12 months, but we haven't had a woman on the show, and yet women in motorsport is as prominent as it's ever been. So you are our first female guest of honour.
I am extremely honoured. Thank you so much. I know that there's so many other, wonderful men and women that will come back on the show for sure. So thank you.
Hey, spread the word in the pit lane. Toddy's tried to do it, but if it comes from the media, there's nothing more powerful than that.
Definitely. I can't write about myself, but I'll definitely spread the word.
I think you've earned the right. So
thank worries. You guys.
We'll leave you to it. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. We'll be right back after this short break with Formula One on Negative Camber.
Are you looking for an Italian restaurant that boasts cuisine inspired by the Amalfi Coast and the Campania region? Introducing L'Ombra Cantina Cucina and Pizzeria. Boasting classically trained Italian chefs, recreating wonderful culinary memories of your last visit back home. Italian food that takes your breath away. Squid ink pasta allo scoglio, spaghetti vongula, Napoletana pizza. This wonderful addition to Adelaide's flourishing Italian culture opens on Monday, March the 21st for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And L'Ombra can cater for all of your celebrations, christenings, birthdays, family gatherings and private functions. Enjoy the food, the wine and wonderful service and leave the rest to Davida and Fabio. L'Ombra Cantina Cucina and Pizzeria, 15 Charles Street, Westlakes. Email to book ciao@lombra.com.au, that's ciao@lombra.com.au, or call Davida 0417 877 65. It's an experience you will never forget.
Have you heard of podcasts? Podcasts are like having a personal radio station that people can listen to on demand about topics they are interested in. And now, thanks to Podcast City, you can record your own podcast and have your own on-demand radio show. You can use our professional recording equipment at the studios of Radio Italia Uno, or Podcast City can come to your location with our mobile studio. Podcast City can just record your audio or work with you to plan, record, edit, and distribute your podcast to your audience. If you would like to find out more and receive a free podcast startup checklist or book a time to record your podcast, Call Radio Italia Uno on 821 23177 or go to podcastcity.com.au. Podcast City. Podcasting the easy way.
G'day, I'm Bevo.
And I'm Downtown.
And tune in Wednesdays from 7 till 8 p.m.
for the number one NBL1 Central basketball show you'll ever tune into. We are the Hoopsters.
That's right, Downtown, 87.6 FM, Radio Italia Uno. Tune in 7 till 8 Wednesdays.
Radio Italia Uno.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide and my hunker-burning love next door, Mr. Lee Harrison. Mate, how good was Charlie?
Charlie was excellent, and sorry I couldn't be there today to assist with the interview, but you did an amazing job in my place as well, and huge shout out to Charlie. Thank you for affording us at the show so much time and promoting the sport really well.
Yes, no, it was good, and the fact that she brought in on the dad jokes, I saw you squirm in your seat, especially with Putin. That was great.
The Putin one was very, very good, and I'm glad that Charlie didn't hold back, and hopefully her job is safe after recording that joke.
No doubt at all. Never in doubt. She contributed to Negative Camber. It's the safest houses.
Yeah.
Formula One. So, on May 20 to 22, the Formula One Pirelli Gran Premio de España 2022 was held at the Circuit de Catalunya. Top 10 results were as follows. Max Verstappen first, Sergio Perez second, George Russell third, Carlos Sainz in fourth, Lewis Hamilton fifth, Valtteri Bottas in sixth, Esteban Ocon in seventh, Lando Norris in eighth, Fernando Alonso in ninth, and Yuki Tsunoda in 10th position. Mr. Harrison, considering I've hogged the limelight for the last 45 minutes, what are your talking points from this race?
Well, I suppose the biggest one to come out of the weekend is Barcelona's normally the track where the teams bring all their big updates, their first lot of big updates for the year. It's a track that they all know so well, having done so much pre-season testing there, not just this year, but in years gone by. And we were our eyes got to be laid upon the green Red Bull, as it was affectionately known. Aston Martin bringing in an update to their side pod area, which resembled somewhat similarities to that of their good friends over at Red Bull, and they came out in the news that they had shared about 7 staff members had moved across. So there's a whole bunch of controversy there. But what are your thoughts on the green Red Bull saga?
Oh, look, as soon as the Red Bull staff were making that transition over to Aston Martin, it was a case of when and not if. Let's be honest. The fact that it's basically a B-spec car was pretty impressive. I mean, that was basically from the radiators all the way back to the diffuser at the rear was almost a carbon copy of Red Bull, or as close to it as possible. So the overall performance seems to have suited Seb far more than Lance, especially if we take into consideration Monaco. But look, at the end of the day, it's all the teams copy one another in some way, shape or form throughout the pit lane. This is nothing new. I think I'd be worried if Aston had come out of the gate and were faster than Red Bull, then they'd be worried. But, I think imitation's a form of flattery at the end of the day.
I think as well, there's lots to be said that there's a lot of differences still in the two cars themselves, and it's one thing copying a side pod design and some cutouts in the floor, but the way that the air is fed to those areas of the car definitely doesn't mean, especially around the front wing and the undercarriage. We've got ground effect now, so the top of the car doesn't play as much as a crucial role, but I looked at the side-by-side pictures of the cars. There's still so many differences from the front wings of the Aston Martin to the Red Bull. There's so many differences to the front faces of the floor, the direction of the air into the undercarriage. So, look, I mean, there's a big deal being made out of it, and surely there has been some copying happening a little bit, but I don't think it's as far as to say it is a complete copy of the car. There's still a lot of air that's got to move between the front wing and the side pod before any of that becomes an effective mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. I think there's enough differences visually for the cars to say, let it go. And I think Aston probably didn't want to have a repeat of what happened a couple of years ago when they were Racing Point and they came out with the B-Spec Mercedes. So, yeah, move on, gents.
Exactly. Now, it was a pretty exciting race, one of probably the more exciting races in Barcelona history, which goes a lot to show the new cars, the racing that's been tried to be implemented, and the lack of less downforce and less aero going on the cars. So I think that's a good sign. We finally got some racing where we can compare it like for like in terms of testing results and actual results. So pretty excited to see how Monaco goes tonight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing I found fascinating was just that gust of wind that came out of turn 3, turn 4 in that hard right-hander, and how it KO'd Max and KO'd Carlos. I mean, when Carlos spun, I'd sent a message to you straight away when we were watching the race. I thought, we've cursed the bloke. Like, we called it at the beginning of the year. There was title favourite, and we've literally cursed the guy. And then 5 minutes later, all of a sudden, Max is off in exactly the same spot. And it's like, oh, thank God he's redeemed himself. Yeah. It wasn't so bad. But it's just startling at just how unstable they were under brakes. And then you could tell for the rest of the race that they were cautious going into that section.
And it's a tricky little area as well, because you've got the elevation change, so the car's already getting light as you're turning in there at Barcelona. It is quite heavily downhill, a lot of elevation change, so that big gust of wind definitely pushes on the back end of the car, so it's going to take away that weight, especially a lot more when you're already pugging downhill. But it took away a bit of the race for me. I would have liked to have seen what was happening. I think we were just in a bit of a holding pattern there until the first pit stops between Max and Charles. I don't think Max was really pushing too hard. He was sitting there sort of holding onto his tyres a little bit more, and I don't know if Leclerc was doing the same, but he definitely wasn't pushing as flat out as he could have either. So it's unfortunate that Max fell foul of that as well. I think it took away that real intense battle between Ferrari and Red Bull, and sort of left us with more questions as to who's actually on top. We had seen a bit of a turnaround in form from Red Bull. They'd started to climb the pecking order, and then we got robbed a little bit with Max coming off and then Leclerc losing his engine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you go back and you look at the race, and to even take it back to qualifying, how good a job was Leclerc's lap when he butchered his first run, comes into the pits. You got all that pressure because he hasn't set a time, and Max was fastest at that point, and he just comes out and just obliterates him.
Yeah,
smacked him out the park, and you're like, whoa, okay, here we go. This. We knew the Ferrari was going to be good, but that good? Well, hey. But then come the race, it was theirs for the taking, and it was not. I would probably go as far as saying that Ferrari would have won that race by about a half a lap.
I don't think they were that far in front. I think that they were when Max ended up having his off and then was stuck behind George and Checo. Had Max not had his off and we were treated to an out-and-out dice, I think the race pace of the Red Bull was still there or thereabouts. Ferrari have definitely got qualifying sorted. They're one lap pace in terms of qualifying, and we've seen it again for tonight's Grand Prix at Monaco. Their one lap pace is absolutely phenomenal. But the Red Bulls, I think, are still just in front in race pace. Yeah. It will definitely be interesting tonight, especially on the long tyre run. I think going on last night's race, last night's qualifying session, I think the gaps would have been a lot closer had their Checo not binned it in the wall coming out onto the harbour. Absolutely.
So I think, I would probably go as far as saying that one of the Red Bull probably would have landed on the front row.
Yeah.
Carlos is there or thereabouts, but Checo again has, I think, warmed to that Red Bull a little bit better than Max in a lot of the circumstances where it's a front-end dependent track. And I think his ability to tyre conserve as well will stand him in good stead, in particular tonight as well.
Yeah, and I think, looking back at Spain, it's a bit sad for Checo. I think he'd done everything that he needed to do, deserved the first win of his career. To have to give it away for team orders not once but twice to Max. Checo didn't throw it off. He didn't make any mistakes. He was doing what he needed to do to conserve tyres, and to be asked to move aside for Max and let Max take the win. I think it's a bit early in the championship for those team orders. It'll be interesting to see tonight, especially at Monaco. It's not quite as easy to do team orders around Monaco. So if Checo gets a good start and holds Max off in the first couple of corners and the first few laps, I think Red Bull are going to have some decisions at hand, because Checo has had the pace on Max pretty well every session in Monaco. So it'll be interesting to see what Red Bull do.
What was your take on Mercedes?
Yeah, it seems to be a one-track sort of fix for them. They got on top of their porpoising issues in Barcelona there, and definitely looked a better car than what you had seen earlier in the season, and definitely better than what we saw in testing from them there. George, obviously on the podium. Lewis, after his cry on lap 1, wanting to retire the car and suggesting that that they're done, and then knuckled down. He had pace. He was probably one of the quickest cars on the track, which is credit to him. But look, you go back to Monaco again tonight, and they're nowhere again. Sixth and eighth, I think, on the grid. Definitely looks like they sort of were, They had the fix for Catalonia, but it hasn't quite translated into Monaco.
It's a very difficult car to drive. It looks like it certainly suits a driving style, probably more in favour of George than what it would be for Lewis. Again, last night, it's hard to say because of the fact that a lot of those guys, their last run was cut short because of the track blockage. But both drivers in their own right, phenomenal drives. Where, take away Lewis questioning his team right at the very beginning of the race, despondent, you're 50 seconds behind and last. I think in the heat of the moment, anyone in their right mind, given 3 engines for the year, I don't blame him for asking. It didn't sound good.
No.
But I don't blame him for asking the question. I think anyone in their right mind at that point in time would have said, is it worth it? But then to cut with the pace that they showed, especially with Lewis towards the end, phenomenal, when you think about it. But then George's driver, probably some of the best defensive driving I think I've seen. I'll go as far as saying somewhere between 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, to hold Max off for so long. Yep. Max had his troubles, I think, without the DRS problems that Max was having with the actuator, and him getting frustrated with those as well, so he had his mind elsewhere. The battle probably would have been over a lot quicker, but still credit to George. He still had to fight, and especially the times when Max did have DRS active, he held his own, and they never made contact. They never crashed, and I'll still make points of that Max is racing pretty well wheel to wheel with a lot of people this year, and there's been no contact. So
he had to clean up his act at some point, mate. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. I was a big student in maths, and I learnt about common denominators, and there's one common denominator that's missing from that equation, and
Max's head.
And the algebra has definitely cleaned itself up. So, but yeah, look. The Red Bull hopefully get on top of their struggles with the DRS and can make some passes tonight as well.
Yeah, that'll be... it's hard to call. I mean, if it's dry, unless it's reliability, surely Leclerc wins it. Surely. Unless he botches the start and King Carlos comes through from second on the grid. But who knows? If it rains, geez.
Just remember... Charles has not finished a race that he's started in his home Grand Prix at the moment, so he's got that hanging over his head, and that pressure will be weighing thick on his shoulders. He knows he's got it in the bag. All he's got to do is get a good start, and he should be right to go. But that's a lot of pressure at your home Grand Prix to know that you've never finished a race there before, crashed a $8 million Ferrari, Niki Lauda, only a matter of a couple of weeks ago. He's got the voodoo happening at Monaco, so it only takes one inch, less than an inch, and you're in the fence. And he's going to have his mental game on point tonight.
Well, you know that the 3 Ferrari powertrains have gone kaput in the space of a week. So you had Leclerc's, then you had Zhou Gang Yu's, and then you had Valtteri Bottas's on Friday. So I worry for Carlos. All of a sudden, I'm petrified for him. But the Monaco curse is pretty. I mean, curses are going to be broken at some point. Surely this is the year for Charles. I mean, mind you, we thought last year was the year.
Yeah.
So look, let's get them off the line first and see what happens. But I actually think this will be a Monaco. It won't be a dull Grand Prix. Something inside me tells me that this one will be very, very interesting.
They've all been very interesting so far. We haven't had a dull one yet this year, which is again goes down to the new 2022 car being a fantastic thing for the sport. And I think I watched the 1992 Grand Prix from Monaco between FP3 and qualifying last night, and was reminded of how beautiful a chase Nigel Mansell in a fight Senna put up. So, look, hopefully we've got something similar, whether it's between Leclerc and Sainz or whether it's between Leclerc and Verstappen or Leclerc and Perez. I hope we've just got some close battles and there is some sort of overtaking somewhere, but it's only getting harder and harder. The lap times there are now 10 seconds a lap faster than they were in 1992, and every corner is so much faster, so the braking distances are less. They're shorter. They're not as heavy. It makes overtaking difficult, but let's hope we see some action tonight.
Yes, I won't forget that 1992 Grand Prix in a hurry. I remember watching that race. I mean, it was late, but the following day my dad had taped it, so I watched the replay. Especially, he used to write down the results for me for when I woke up in the morning. And, I mean, 92, the Williams was the dominant car by a mile.
And traction control.
Yeah, and then to see Senna's name on top and then to see him go God mode for 7 laps, just, fantastic. It makes me feel all nostalgic and warm and fuzzy now, mate.
Up until that point, Mansell hadn't lost the Grand Prix that year, so for Senna to hold firm and hold him off when Mansell was about 2 seconds a lap quicker, and that was probably the drive that gave me, one of my favourite drivers growing up was Nigel Mansell, and I think that was one of the drives that I remember the most about seeing him and going, I need to know more about him. And I think I was saying last night to my beautiful wife that his was the first biography I ever read. So read 5, keep the dream alive, and hopefully we see a good race.
Yes, one of my favourite Mansell moments was in Ferrari 1990 when he's chasing Gerhard Berger in a Tamburello. I love Nigel because he drove with his heart, but he was chasing down Gerhard Berger at the Tamburello, and Berger's cut him off. Actually, no, it was through Villeneuve. And he's gotten the wheel on the grass and has actually spun the car and kept it on the track. He's done a full 360 at full speed, rejoined, and probably lost no more than a car length and didn't make any contact anywhere else. It was a phenomenal save.
Magic.
Absolute magic. But yes, alas, we're off to a break. And then when we come back, a couple of our favourite segments to end the show.
Radio Italia 1.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. We are in the final stint of the show, and very quickly we will cover the MotoGP. But before I do that, I hope everyone is enjoying the show and that you got a lot out of it, in particular with the catch-up with Charlie Bullis. Anyway, on Sunday, May 15th of May, at the Bugatti circuit at the Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans, was the French Grand Prix for the MotoGP. I'll quickly rattle through the top 10 and then we'll do a couple of talking points on that. Enea Bastianini finished first, followed by Jack Miller, Alexia Spargaro third, Fabio Quartararo fourth, Johan Zarco fifth, Marc Marquez in sixth, Taka Nakagami in seventh, Brad Binder in 8th, Luca Marini in 9th, and Maverick Vinales in 10th position. Very quick takeaway from that one, my friend, Mr. Lee Harrison. Pecco Bagnaia, major chink in the armour with a fall after being passed by Bastianini halfway through the race. Prior to that, imperious.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the race that no one wanted to win. Jack led early, which was good to see, and held strong. But again, he just letting those tyres get the better of him. Paco had it sort of sewn up and was just holding firm, and then decided he didn't want to win the race anymore and rode off the track and fell off in the gravel traps. So I think there was someone earlier than that as well that had dropped it from the lead, and Alex Rins as well, who was coming on strong, decided to throw it down the road. But all in all, it was a good race. Tuned in at a couple of spots throughout the race, and the front 6 or so were
all within earshot.
Within earshot, right back to Quartararo. So an exciting race there at Le Mans.
Yeah, look, it's not the first time Pecco's been the bike when he's been under pressure. He did that a couple of times in key moments last year as well. And if he's wanting to be a genuine... He's got the pace. If he's wanting to be a genuine threat of this MotoGP title, I mean, they're going to give it to Bastianini at this rate because he's riding like his life depends on it.
Yep.
And I'll probably go as far as saying that the 2021 bike, Ducati is probably marginally better than the 2022 bike.
It seems that way, and you just got to look at the results. Bastianini seems to be making the better of all the chances at every racetrack so far, whereas the two factory guys, Miller and Bagnaia, are struggling a little bit most of the time. But every race you look at, Bastianini's there. He's riding consistent. He's riding smooth, and we said that about Quartararo a couple of years ago, and even Rins the year before that. That consistency is what wins championships. We look even to IndyCar, and Will Power's not won a race this year, and he's still leading the championship. But at least Bastianini's racking up those trophies and getting those results.
Exactly. Very quick takeaways from that. Alexia Spargaro is definitely a genuine championship threat in that Aprilia.
Yeah,
they are. Did you see the little rear spoiler that they've actually put on the back of that now?
I have not. No.
Yeah. So behind the backside of where the riders are, where the rear camera is, there's now like this little, looks like a little mini F1 spoiler that they put. So they're really playing with aerodynamics now on that bike.
Yeah, well, that's
pretty
very tricky, and I guess puts a little bit of extra weight on the back wheel, so maybe helps with their traction coming off of corners, and I can't imagine they'd want to worry about drag too much, especially at a track like Mugello that they're racing at this afternoon. So, yeah, I might have to have a look at that one a little bit deeper for next show.
Yeah. Jorge Martin, again, another fall, struggling hard. I mean, he's been that bike now probably, what are we in, round 5 or 6? I reckon he's binned it 4 or 5 times.
Turning into the Marc Marquez of the Ducati ranks.
Oh, did you see the high side last night? It set the bike on fire?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. At what point do you draw the line and say, mate, you got to tone it down to,
Well, he's won all those world championships, so you don't get that far without putting it all on the line, and he's got a lot to prove at the moment. So putting it out there and taking all those risks, and it's the make and mode of a champion.
Yeah, and finally, Remy Gardner struggling on the KTM, unfortunately. Both of them actually binned it over that weekend at Le Mans, so it wasn't a good weekend for that team.
Not at all for Tech 3 KTM there, and Remy's struggling, but looking forward, it's his first year. They'll use this as a developmental year, and look forward to him moving up the ranks next year and competing on a bit more of a weekly basis.
Yes, he'll, with a bit of luck, hopefully with some tenacity, he'll be grinding out some results. And speaking of grinding, we've got some gears to grind.
Now it's time for Grind My Gears with Jamie and Lee.
And Mr. Harrison.
Is there anything worse and anything more gear grinding than when you're watching your favourite sport, whether it be the soccer or the cricket, whatever your sport of choice is, and your armchair commentator friends are next to you? Like, honestly, there's people getting paid lots of money to give me their thoughts and opinions on the television, and I like to sit and watch those commentators work for their money. But they've just got to chime in the whole time. Every 5 seconds, it's got to be something said.
Has your wife gotten in your ear?
No. No. I'm waiting now to see my phone light up, see if it thinks I'm talking about it.
I made her laugh, apparently, for something that I said a couple of weeks ago, so I'm hoping I've had that same moment, like, the whole moment. Yeah. Yes. Well, my gears are that idiotic me washed the car today, and now it's getting washed by nature again.
Yeah. I mean, I can't let that be a gear grinding, because some of us are clever enough to get up and check the weather forecast in the morning before we worry about washing our car.
Man, I was building my electric raising desk today, so I was, oblivious to what was happening out on the outside world, apart from playing with my desk going up and down and up and down, feeling very regal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my wife has envy now because I've moved her out of the office because I'm working from home now, and I've got this desk that takes up probably about 3/4 of the office. So, yes, I said you can use it on Saturdays and Sundays, but Monday to Friday, it's mine.
I know her pain.
Yes.
I can definitely sympathise with her for that.
Yes. I'm not going to be sympathising for the next segment, which is Jamie's Jokes.
Now it's time for Jamie's Joke of the Week. Let's get ready to laugh our socks off.
The fact that you are actually got the microphone up against your forehead right now is fantastic.
I'm just ready. I'm ready.
You better be ready, my friend. So I had a happy childhood. My dad used to put me in tyres and roll me down the hills. Those were good years.
That is... Deary me. I don't know if it was possible for these to get worse, but they seem to be getting worse each week. Can we bring Charlie back?
No. Well, actually, yeah. All right. I know a bunch of good jokes about umbrellas, but they go over people's heads.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. That's like when I tell you a joke because you're so short it goes straight over the top of your head too.
Exactly right. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, God. All right. We all know about Murphy's Law. Anything can go wrong, will go wrong. All right? But have you heard of Cole's Law? It's thinly sliced cabbage.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I knew exactly where you were going.
I can't breathe.
Yeah. Dear me. I'm speechless.
Your hair is straightened. You're that frazzled.
Yeah.
It's great.
Straight up. Straight up. I didn't even come prepared tonight enough to add to these jokes, but I wouldn't want to bring good light to the segment.
It's like saying that, there's a new broom that's come out in stores. It's sweeping the country.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
That was courtesy of John Condor again from Utah. Into it. He actually got the book out of dad jokes during the week and fired that one off on me, and I was speechless. I thought that's fantastic.
Maybe we can get him to come in. His jokes are at least half funny. We could get maybe Jamie's jokes can come in to Charlie and John's jokes.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, he'd be up in Utah at the moment. It'd be daytime for him, so he'd be up for it, I reckon.
We wouldn't make him work on a Sunday, though.
Well, technically he does for me. I wake up on a Monday morning and it's Sunday night and we're doing training and stuff. So, yeah. But, no, that's, I think, enough dad jokes for tonight. I think there was, 6 or 7 that we fired off into the show between myself and our special guest.
Yeah. It's, I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight with all that excitement, but maybe that's a good thing, actually, because we've got so much motorsport to look forward to tonight. The Grand Prix nearly on. A couple more hours to go before the lights out on that one, and then a couple of hours break before the Indy 500. So big night of motorsport coming up. I hope all the listeners got their coffee and their favourite snacks ready to go.
Oh, yeah, before I forget, and I forgot to ask earlier in the show because we were tight for time for the Charlie show, but some of the race formats in NASCAR, like, they've got the chase, they've got the challenge or whatever it is, and then they've cut the race up in about 3 or 4 segments. Briefly, how does that all work?
There's no briefness about it. It's quite an intricate little format that they've got going there. But I guess the easiest way to deal with it is that they've got every race is broken up into 3 segments, except for the one that's on tonight or tomorrow morning, the Coca-Cola 600, because it's longer. It's broken up into 4 segments. They get points for each of the 3 segments, with the last segment being the overall winner of that segment is the overall winner of the race. They then have 26 races in the regular season. They finish their season off with a 10-race playoff, where the top 16 in points and standings, I suppose you call it, get into the playoffs, and then they break it down over the course of that 10 races to have the last race of the season is the race where the winner takes all championship. But if you win a race through the regular season, the first 26 races of the year, you're pretty well guaranteed a spot into the playoffs, and then you sort of got to hold your own through that. But throughout the year, you also get points that contribute to your playoff standings. I've got a full document here for next time, but we can delve into that segment a little bit deeper. But yeah, definitely for the purists of the sport like me, bringing in the stages segment was not an amazing thing. They did that to keep the race close together and more exciting for the fans. But yeah, all good fun.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, that sounds good. We should cover that in more detail for the next show because there's a lot to dissect on that, but that has a major part in playing the championship out, especially later in the year when they've got the chase and that sort of thing as well. Before we call it a night, my friend, I've been asked to end the show on a high. All right? What do you call a line of men waiting to get haircuts? A barbecue.
Oh, dear. And with that, it's good night to all of our loyal listeners that have put up with your jokes for the last 5 minutes. That is probably the true test of a human's strength right there, listening to your jokes.
While they're cutting hair, they'll probably cut us off air. So on that note, good night, everyone. Stay safe on these gloomy conditions, and we hope you enjoy your night. We'll see you in a fortnight's time.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.